Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. The main purpose of this video is to talk about being an average woman. I was inspired after watching this YouTuber named Blunt Girly. She made a video basically comparing average looking women to beautiful women or above average women. I tried to kind of see if there's any videos out there on YouTube about women talk about their experience being an average woman. I didn't really get a chance to look too deeply, so I was like, you know what? Let me just make my own video about being an average woman. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of videos on YouTube talk about being an ugly woman, which I don't think anybody's really ugly. Which I definitely agree upon. I definitely agree with Blunt Girl talking about that. What she talks about, there's nobody who is really ugly, which I totally agree. Nobody's really ugly, but a lot of these TikTok videos talk about how they are a woman and how they are ugly in today's society, which I don't agree, but I definitely agree upon being an average looking woman. I do think it's average and it's above average. But she basically talks about her experience, her positive experience, and also her negative experience, but she focused on the positivity of being beautiful. But one thing she mentioned, example that she gave, was when she's in a relationship with men, most of the men tries to stay in relationship with her as long as possible. So even though it may not be working out, or even though that they know that she's not the right person for them, they do everything in their ability to sustain a relationship. And how with average women, you have to do everything possible to kind of stay in that relationship, or if you do anything wrong, they will leave you. And I totally agree with that. Like, I know a lot of people may not agree with her with that, or people like, oh, that's not true. Like, I'm an average woman and my man would never leave me. I feel like you're kind of like an outlier, to be honest with you. You probably found like one person that you connected with who actually loved you, and then they would do anything possible to keep their relationship. But let's be serious, like, you being an outlier is not a clear view of what it really is for the majority of average looking women. But I definitely agree with her with that statement, saying that when you're average woman, you have to do everything possible to kind of keep that man, or not to have a bad day. Because I will tell you, majority of my past relationships, or like my connections, if I did anything wrong, doesn't matter what the case may be, they will definitely drop me like a bad habit. I remember I was like dating this guy, and then we were actually together, and we were always hanging out every weekend, all the time. I think like one day I just had like the worst attitude for some reason. But let me tell you, like, through the whole time that we were talking and we would get to know each other and eventually got into a relationship, I always had a positive attitude. I always in a good mood. I always, try to be as happy as possible. Doesn't matter if I was, not feeling it at all. I tried my best to, to keep it light. That's just not me trying to keep it light. Doesn't have to do with me trying to keep my man, but just as who I am. Because I feel like if you go out with anybody, whether you're friends or your family members, you should always be as happy as possible, right? Because it's kind of like, what's the purpose of you being outside if you're gonna be sulky? But anyway, so like one day I was really sulky, I was really upset, and instead of like just communicating that with him, I kind of like went off a little bit, not in person but do like text, whatever. And instead of him saying like, okay, I'm so, like, instead of him saying, okay, she never had to act this way at all to me. She has been like a light, actually. And this is the one time she been act this way. So let me investigate and figure out what's going on. Let me ask her what's going on with her. Let me see what's going on and talk with her. Nah, he just never respond. And then when I realized that he didn't respond, sorry, let me go back. When I realized that he didn't respond, I'm like, call him up, like, oh, like, why you didn't respond to my text? Like, you saw number 7. He basically was like, oh, you said X, Y, and Z, so I just left you alone. Simple as that. Simple like that. Simple as that's so simple. Like, if your girl's upset, you think that, okay, let me figure out what's going on with her. Let me see what's going on. Like, she never acted this way. It's very unusual for her to act this way. This man did not care. Because you know why he didn't care? Because I was not important to him. I was not important to him. I was nobody to keep. I was somebody who's disposable, essentially, to him. But let me tell you, if I was a beautiful woman, or if I was a above average looking woman, he would have do anything possible to get it done. And now when I look back at my friendships and hear about their relationships and so on, now I know that what Blunt really was saying was so true. Like, I guess it never dawned on me, because I'm so absorbed in my life that I'm not really focused on what other people are doing in their relationship. You know what I'm saying? Which I shouldn't. Like, why should I be absorbed in my friendships, relationship? Like, that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my life any type of way. But it definitely shine a light on my looks, for sure. Another thing that I want to bring up is that when you are average looking, men do not take you seriously. Well, majority of men don't take you seriously. They don't view you as somebody to take on long term. They might date you, they might be with you for a certain period of time, but they don't see you as like a wifey material. I'm not saying that that's the majority, but I'm just saying that when you're average woman, that's how it is. Like, when you're beautiful, they will jump on the opportunity to claim you, to show you off. But when you're average, is a lot of hesitation when it comes to being an average woman. I'm not saying guys that this is for everybody, because I know somebody's gonna be like, oh, my man is beautiful, he's amazing, and he showed me off to his family day one. Okay, we're not talking about you, girl. We just talk about the majority. And when that happens, it sucks, right? Because some guys I meet, they might have connection with me, personality wise. Hold on, let me get some water. So they might have some type of connection with me, personality wise. They might get along with me. We might communicate well, through online platforms, and we talk on the phone. We meet each other a few times before, but to actually be in a relationship with somebody who's average looking is like serious relationship is little to none. Because let me tell you, most of my relationships I've been in hasn't even been further than 3 to 4 months, which is crazy to me. I'm not saying that beautiful women don't have similar issues where the guys that they with don't stay long with them, but they don't stay long with them for different reasons. Like, they might not stay long with them because they probably feel so jealous that other men are looking at them and they get so much attention that they can't control themselves, right? So that's one thing that Blunt really mentioned. She was like, a lot of her relationships in the past, or I guess one relationship that she talked about, they couldn't stay in a relationship for too long because the guy, he would get so jealous of her that men was, trying to talk to her and try to be with her in front of him. But somebody who's average, they only kind of want you for personality, right? They know that you're a good person, you have a good heart, and that you probably be a good mom and a good wife. But because you don't look like it visually, or they don't see you as a wife to showcase everybody, they can't claim you. And I had to bring another story. So it was this guy that I met while on vacation. And he's very beautiful. He actually is like top. He's like 10-10. I'm not even playing with y'all. Like 10-10. Like, even my sister, she was like, "Are you sure that he's real?" I'm like, "Girl, I met him on vacation in person. Like, this is not no like dating app type of situation. This is in person." And we connected really well. We talked to each other I'm like, since I left that vacation, not with him, but like, obviously I met him at the vacation, but when we exchanged contact, we would talk to each other practically every day. Like, he would message me every morning. And I'm telling you, like, my friend, she was saying to me, she was like, "You know what? the way he's acting, I kind of feel like he has somebody home, like somebody back in his, home state or home country, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I've been feeling the same thing too, but I don't know. So obviously, when he got back to his home country, Lord to behold, like, the communication started to wear off. I stopped hearing from him and anymore. I didn't hear from him anymore. I probably hear from him like once in a while to eventually just cut off, right? And that just brings up a point to me that a lot of these men, they will emotionally cheat on their girls or whoever they're talking to seriously with, somebody who's average, but they will go home and have like a real relationship with whoever they're talking to or whoever they're with back in their like, home location. And I hate that. Like, I feel like that's super wild to me, like how some men will emotionally cheat on the average. They'll mostly cheat on their beautiful girlfriend with somebody who is average looking, right? Because their beautiful girlfriend or their beautiful wife or whatever, is beautiful, and they only like that person because they're beautiful. But when they go to travel or go talk or hang out with other people, they emotionally cheat with the average girl, right? Because obviously the beautiful girl doesn't give them what they need emotionally, obviously emotionally. And I just felt like that was super crazy. And like I never thought much about emotional cheating, to be honest with you, because I thought like physical cheating was on a higher end than emotional cheating, which I still do, but I understand it more being a situation, right? Because I wasn't just crazy, and my friend wasn't crazy at all, right? Because not too long after that, like a couple months later, I saw on his Instagram that like he had like a whole girlfriend, and that girl was pregnant, and now they have a child together, which I was like, wow. So basically, this whole time he was, he had a girl back home. I don't know, they were on off or they were taking a break. I don't know, because based on his job, the way his job required him to travel a lot. So maybe they were off, maybe they were on, or maybe they were taking a break. Who knows? Or maybe they were actually broken up. I don't know. Maybe he decided to get back with her when he got back home. But I just thought that was super wild to me, that he will basically waste my time by talking my head up every day just for him to go back to this girl. But those type of things happens when you're average looking, because I'm pretty sure if I was a beautiful woman, this wouldn't happen.